Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the faithful stamper and independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And today I have for you a super simple card design. I'm sure this has a name, I don't know what it is. I've seen this design many times over the years, but never made it. And I was looking for a simple design for my video this evening and ran across a picture of this in a different print and decided to make it. And I figured out the dimensions all on my own, so hence I don't know what the name of it is. But it's really easy. It requires very little supplies. I made this one a sympathy card, but it would be great for any occasion. And I'm going to show you right now how to make it. So the first thing you're going to need is a card base. I'm using Pale Papaya for mine, and it doesn't really matter which style of card base you use. This is 8.5 by 5.5, but you can also use the 4 1/4 by 11 card base style. It works either way. So you're also going to need an envelope and 1 or 2 pieces of cardstock. They don't have to be Whisper White. I'm going to use Whisper White. No, it's Basic White now. Basic White on the outside and the inside of the card. Now, I don't necessarily need a layer on the inside, but I liked how it looked with the white. But being light colored, it would definitely, I could stamp on the inside and it would show up. But I just decided I wanted that extra layer of white there. And then you're going to need 4 squares of cardstock that are 1 1/2 inch square and 4 pieces of designer series paper that are 1 1/4 inch square, and that's all the supplies that you need to make this card. So we will go ahead and get started. So I'm going to do my stamping first. I'm going to take my panel of Basic White, and the reason I'm going to start with this is that way if I mess up my sentiment, I can correct that before I go any further with the card. So I am using, for my accent stamp, a flower from the Sweet as a Peach set, this cute little accent flower here, and that matches the designer series paper, which is from the Peach Suite. And then for my sentiment, I'm using the 2 sympathy sentiments from the Timeless Tulips. I don't think I ever would have put these together otherwise, but I was looking for sympathy sentiments, unfortunately, and ran across them in this stamp set. But this has a lot of great verbiage with it. It has Mother's Day, Get Well Soon, Happy Birthday, Hello, Happy Easter, as well as the sympathy. So it covers a lot of ground. So I'm going to take Balmy Blue ink, and my color choices from today all stem from my designer series paper. I've got the Balmy Blue, the Pale Papaya, and the Calypso Coral. So I'm going to start with Balmy Blue ink and stamp my sentiment down here at the bottom. Now you could reverse this if you wanted and stamp up top. And so I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat under my stamps because they are photopolymer. They don't have a cushion built in, they stick right to the acrylic block, and sometimes to get a good impression you just need a little give under the stamps. And so that's why I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat. You could, if you don't have a Stampin' Pierce mat, a thin piece of foam will do, or even a catalog, just something to give you a little bit of a cushion. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment here at the bottom. And if I had messed up, I could simply have turned my cardstock over or gotten a new piece. So at least there's 2 sides to every white piece of cardstock. So I'm going to set that to the side for a moment and stamp the inside, and that way I can finish up my stamping. Again with Balmy Blue, I'm just going to pair the other sympathy sentiment here with it. And then to finish off, I'm going to go with Calypso Coral ink to just coordinate my colors and bring my little accent stamp over. I'm going to stamp the top and bottom corners here just for a little something, and then I am going to take my envelope and stamp the bottom corner. I always try to put a little something on my envelope, whether it be a stamp or a piece of designer series paper on the flap or an embossed flap, something. I don't like sending plain envelopes out into the world. Stamped envelopes are much more fun. And I just stuck my finger in ink. So all right, stamping is done. So now I'm going to show you how we assemble and create our little squares. You will need a corner rounder for this next step. So this is our detailed trio punch. We have a little flourish, a little oval cutout. You can feed ribbon through it, and then the corner rounder. So this is a little fussy just because my paper is so small. If I was using a larger piece of paper, it's less fussy. But this works out okay. These are 1.5 inch. And what I love about this punch is there are little guidelines here. So, as I said, easier with a larger piece of paper, but I can just nestle my square right there into the corner and then press, and I've rounded my corner. Now, one thing, if you have this punch or you're going to be purchasing it, you want to use your whole hand. Don't try to press only on the one corner. You just don't get a good cut that way. So whole hand, no matter which side of the punch you're using. And so I rounded this one corner, and we're gonna round the opposite corner. So only 2 of the 4, so round 2 opposite corners. Now, if you do not currently have a demonstrator that you are working with, and you are interested in seeing either our annual catalog or our holiday mini, I would be happy to send you a copy in the mail. Just reach out to me either here through the YouTube channel or over on my Facebook page at Faithfully Stampin' with, nope, the Faithful Stamper is my Facebook page. This is my YouTube channel, which is Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. And you can also email me at thefaithfulstamper@gmail.com. So I'm just stamping, I'm not stamping away, I'm punching away here with my corner rounding. So I've got 4 pieces that look like this with 2 square corners and 2 rounded corners. And then I just have to clean up every once in a while and throw away my little bits. And then we're going to repeat this with my 1.25 inch squares of cardstock. Now these get a little trickier because they all but disappear in the punch. So you can always take a strip of Post-it note and attach the sticky to the back, and it will help you feed in your squares. But I'm just going to nestle them down in here. And again, it's just rounding those opposite corners. And you can look at your designer series paper and see if there's one corner that you would prefer stay square, or 2 corners that you would prefer to be rounded. Totally up to you which corners you choose. So, I apologize, I didn't think to pre-punch any of these, and I should have. So thank goodness there's only 4 and not 400. So last one going in here. This really goes together very quickly and simply. You might not want to mass produce this if you need 100 cards, but even 10 cards of this style would not take you that long. Probably rounding those corners would take you the longest. So now what we're going to do is lay out our little squares and glue these together. And you can use liquid glue, or you can use Stampin' Seal or Stampin' Seal Plus. Mine's taking a minute to get going here. And so you just need to leave a little bit of a border and obviously match your square corners to your square corners and your rounded edges to your rounded edges. And then once you have all 4 of these together, we're going to finish assembling the card. And you have a choice to make when you are assembling your card design, and that is dimensionals or flat on the card front. So think about that for a minute while I finish up here. So there we go, those 4 are ready to go. I'm going to bring my card base over, and I like to lay it flat. It's just a little simpler to use or lay out my design when it's flat. So first I'm going to bring back over that front panel, and I'm going to put some adhesive on it to keep it in place. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and flip to the inside and just finish this while we're here. So as you can see, this does go together really, really quickly. Now flip that back over. Now what I like to do is I'm going to flip all these over. Now, well, here, I'll show you this first. One little tip I suggest is before you go putting glue or dimensionals on the back, you might want to line up your pieces on the front here, and I like to position them before I do any of that, and that way I just can get a feel for where I want them on the card. I have one little rough edge here. I'm going to take a pair of scissors and trim off. I must not have been leaning on that punch the right way. There we go. So I have a habit of putting the dimensionals on and then wishing I hadn't, so I just like to position these, and that way if I'm a little off center or like this, I can tell I'm a little to the left here. I just can play with it before I have any glue or anything like that on the card. And normally this doesn't take me this long. There we go. So, and you can rearrange your panels if there's just, like I didn't like these two lined up together, so I swapped them, but you can take a look and arrange them how you like. So now I'm going to take dimensionals, and I'm going to put just 2 dimensionals. If you like 4 and you want to do one on each corner, you can. So I'm going to take 2 and put them on the back. Now you can also glue these on flat if you like. I'll show you that in a minute because I actually glued them flat by accident on my first sample that I made. But I want to pop them up a little bit. You could even just pop up 1 or pop up 2, whatever you like. But now that I've got 1 in place, I can go ahead and move the rest because I have something to work with here. So, and I forgot to mention, put your pointed corners towards the inside when you are arranging your pieces. There we go. And now these last 2, and then the card is done. So, as I said, really simple design. Rounding those corners and cutting the squares will probably take you longer than anything else. And even then, it's not that much time. And you could definitely be creative. I was thinking earlier tonight while I was assembling one of these that you could try to make it a butterfly, do something for the butterfly body and give it little antennas. That would be cute. But here you go. Here's the card. So this is the card with the panels popped up with dimensionals, and you really can't tell that much of a difference, but here's one where they are glued flat. So it's totally up to you how thick you want your card to be, just a little added dimension versus being flat. Now with the cards like this, you can change your look very easily by changing a little bit of cardstock or ink color. I made a similar card using the opposite ink and cardstock colors. So balmy blue ink here, but cardstock here, Calypso coral ink, cardstock. So I just wanted you to see how quickly you can change the look of a card. They're both beautiful. It's just all in what you want to do. And these are great for every occasion. Sadly, I needed to focus on sympathy cards today. So this is another card, same stamp set from that Timeless Tulip, but instead of using peach paper, I used one of the Christmas prints. This is actually from the Painted Christmas Suite. However, this particular design does not scream Christmas, and I like the subtle colors, so I went with that for another sympathy card. On this one, I chose to stamp directly on the inside. I just changed up the interior accent stamp and used one of the foliage stamps from the Christmas set, but I kept that sympathy sentiment, and I just stamped directly on the soft seafoam card base. Now you can also use this for Christmas. I used that same Christmas suite, the Painted Christmas, but I did my envelope with the foliage, and I used the Christmas paper. I stamped again directly on the card since it's light colored. But on this one, I added a little bit of embellishment. So if you like, you can dress it up a little with rhinestones or some gilded gems. You could even put them at the four corners here or your outside corners. You could even probably take a small scalloped circle punch and put it in the middle, make a flower. So lots of options for such a simple layout. Now I did save my two favorite ones for last. This is again the same design that we just did, however in blues. This is our In Symmetry Designer Series paper and stamp set. For this one, I accented with a little bit of a accent stamp on the front as well. Carried it over to the inside. And I don't know if you can see it very well, but I added 4 little pearls to the inside. I kind of wish I had saved them for the outside here, but that's okay. They kind of get swallowed up by that print. But a little tip for you is if you've ever had a card where you haven't had the right color embellishment, if you have Stampin' Blends or alcohol markers, you can take the brush end of those blends and color our pearls and our rhinestones any color that you have a blend in to match whatever project you're doing. So really handy when you don't have the right color. You can create your own. Now, all of the cards that I've showed you so far have been the same technique using squares that were 1.5 inch of cardstock and 1.25 inch of Designer Series paper. Now, if you would like to mix it up a little bit, you can make your squares a little bit smaller so that you can orient them differently. This design will not work with this size squares. When you turn it on its side like this, these two pieces would hang over the edge of your white panel, and that's not a look I think you'd want to go for. So if you like this orientation, all you have to do is make your cardstock squares 1.25 inch and your Designer Series paper squares 1 inch. Same steps, and then just arrange them differently. So again, you could use a little something in the middle there to make a flower. I was thinking if you did greens, you could take 3 squares with green cardstock and green Designer Series paper and then give it a stem and make it a shamrock. So there's your St. Patrick's Day card, nice and simple. Here you can see better those hand-colored pearls that I did using Misty Moonlight Stampin' Blends. And then this one I just accented with a strip of Designer Series paper as well as my stamped images. And another thing to think about, I mentioned how this design only fits on this size card. This is an A2 card size. If you make the squares smaller, if you like to make larger cards, say 5x7, you could probably make your panels a little bit bigger and then do this orientation on the larger card. So lots of different ways you can use this card design. So there you have it, a quick and simple design for any kind of occasion card. I thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just press that subscribe button and then you can click the bell for notifications and be notified anytime I post a video. I typically post 2 videos a week on Mondays and Fridays. You can catch me live on Facebook on Mondays and Fridays at The Faithful Stamper, and you can also see other projects and things that I design, classes I offer, and any specials that might be going on that Faithful Stamper Facebook page as well. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have lots of crafting time. Take care. Happy crafting.